Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and later on our podcast channels. As you can see, joined by Lee Ryder just after Newcastle's 1-1 draw with Wolves. Lee, a point is better than a defeat and more positives to take from the game. But as you wrote in your match report, they can't really be afforded these hard luck stories.
No, I think in normal circumstances that probably, you would have accepted a good performance and a point and just a bit of bad luck. But as you say, we are now, right down there still. And if Fulham win tomorrow, then, we won't go in the relegation zone. That's for sure. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be tight and going into another tense weekend with West Brom away. That's just not what the fans want at the moment. So yeah, it's 2 points dropped. That's the only way to look at it.
Newcastle created a lot of chances in the first half, were quite dominant, but obviously the big news is the injury to Miguel Almiron came off at half time, and then Alan St. Maximum during the second half. I mean, those two players were instrumental in creating those chances in the first half. What did Steve Bruce have to say about those two players?
Well, unless you've seen it elsewhere, that he hasn't clarified exactly what the injury is. So we are awaiting news on what that injury exactly is, and he only took limited questions during the press conference. I think he only answered 2 questions from the newspapers. And not nobody who asked the question asked what the actual injury was. So we don't know exactly what the problem is. All we know is he was in distress at half time, and from his point of view, he doesn't normally come off games, does he? Really, he normally stays on, battles on, and he didn't do that today. So it's Steve Bruce saying he fears the worst, but we're yet to get more details from it. It's very much a developing story.
And if he is out and St. Maximin is out, I mean, that is not something Newcastle United want to deal with going into this run where they are fighting for safety.
Yeah, especially when you're already without Callum Wilson. And also now it looks like Emil Kraft's picked up a bad injury as well. But we don't know the full extent of it. We just know he had to come off, and Newcastle are struggling for right back. So problems all over the pitch at the moment, and it means that someone's going to have to step up that game against West Brom, and they're going to have to go down there and avoid defeat at least.
Let's talk about some of the big points on the pitch. Then you had Joe Linson nearly getting a goal, and it was cleared off the line, and it was kind of I'm not sure if it was a good clearance or the defender kind of just was lucky, but should Joe Linton have scored that goal, do you think, Lee?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I said that at the time. I put a tweet out straight away, and I said, he's got to score from that position. And a lot of people saying, "Oh, it was a great block on the line and all that," but no, sorry, £40 million, number 9 Newcastle. We needed to win this one, and that is a golden opportunity. You have to take that chance if you're going to stay in the Premier League. And unfortunately, it's just been the story of his career so far, and he just hasn't delivered yet again.
And then the Wolves equaliser, it was a header by Ruben Neves, but there seemed to be some confusion when Matt Ritchie came on. A lot of people on social media asking kind of what was happening, what the formation was, and Lascelles has said he was a little bit kind of confused by it. I'm paraphrasing there. He says he's going to go and find out what happens. What did you make of it, and what did Steve Bruce have to say about what went wrong there?
Well, regardless of what the formation should be, you've got to stop the cross first and foremost. Hayden should have done better, in the air with the challenge, and the goalkeeper should have kept it out. So three things out of 3 Newcastle got completely wrong. So 3 crosses there. So yeah, if you want to win games like this, you've got to see out the game, and especially if you're not good enough to add to your 1-0 lead, you have to then see the game out. Newcastle just weren't capable of it, and it's a really big bitter blow tonight to drop 2 points here. Feels like we've lost to me. That's the way I feel.
And then Dubravka right at the death with a fantastic save off Silva. Again, did he know much about it? Regardless, he kept it out. And I don't know about you, Lee, but watching it here at home, I thought Newcastle had lost that game when he met that in the air.
Yeah, it was nearly defeat from the jaws of victory, wasn't it? And look, it was a top class save, and that's why he is a brilliant goalkeeper, because he probably makes the error for the first one, but then he bounces back straight away and makes a superb stop like that. Yeah, few more games into it, I think he doesn't make that error. It's just, he's come in. He didn't have too much action really throughout the game. I think there was a save from Traore in the first half, but he's still easing his way back in. He hasn't played many games this season, so you probably got to give him a bit of leeway. But unfortunately, it's probably cost Newcastle the 2 points tonight.
Just a quick question on the subs. Obviously, we had the injuries to Almiron and St Maximin. There was Ritchie and Murphy came on. And then Ryan Fraser as well. What did you make of the fact that yet again the likes of Dwight Gale and Annie Carroll were left on the bench?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was just the situation Newcastle were in, and they had to really, make those changes the way they did. Look, the contract situation, coincides with it. They haven't signed new deals. They haven't been offered new deals. Maybe Newcastle are trying to send a message to them. I don't know. We're not, without being able to ask the manager questions on it. It's very difficult to establish exactly what's going on there. But just looking from my observation tonight is that they had to make the changes they did just simply because of the injuries that they had, and those players didn't fit into that equation.
Looking at the first half and the chances Newcastle had, I mean, St Maximin had one on the back of the net, but he was offside. But maybe Willock should have put that effort in just before, the keeper saved it, didn't he? Is it again a case though, Lee, that Newcastle creating chances, looking a bit more threatening, but just that clinical edge isn't there, and it is a worry going forward into, that fight for safety.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things I looked at after the game was, how many goals Newcastle scored this season. They scored 27 from 26 games. There's actually some teams have got even less than Newcastle, which is quite incredible. So maybe that gives me a crumb of comfort tonight. But look, at the end of the day, Newcastle are in the position they're in. They're in a precarious position because they haven't taken chances when they've created them. They haven't won games when they've been on top. Old Trafford last week, they were on top either side half time. They end up with nothing. Tonight they were on top. They've ended up with a draw when they should have won. So there's arguably 4 points in the last 2 games chucked away, and there's plenty of other examples. You could go through the full fixture list to see that, and they've left themselves with a lot of work to do with a dozen games to go.
Obviously, we've got Fulham, Crystal Palace tomorrow. So even if Fulham win that, Newcastle still out of the relegation zone by a point. And then I guess it becomes a very important point, doesn't it? But looking at the games ahead, Lee, I mean, how important do you think the result tonight will impact the weeks to come?
Well, it's down to Fulham again, isn't it? So going forward, Newcastle need to pull. Definitely need to pull away before that last game against Fulham, because in that situation, that's exactly the type of game where Newcastle, the weight of expectation is too much for them, and in a one-off situation, I think they would come off second best. So I don't want them to be in that situation. It would be like a little bit like the Aston Villa thing a few years ago, where they've gone down there twice and been relegated twice. The weight of expectation is far too much for them. And look, this squad of players, there's still a lot of players in here. Let's be honest, there's still a lot of players within this squad who were signed to get Newcastle out of the Championship in 2016. We're 5 years down the track now, and there's still a lot of them around here. And I know Steve Bruce has talked about it being, oh, well, that's our core, dressing room core. But let's be honest, with 12 games to go, if you're that good, you would be well away from the relegation zone, and they're right in the thick of it. So obviously, recruitment over the last 5 or 6 seasons hasn't been good enough, and that's why the 4th season in the Premier League since promotion, they are still struggling, and they look like a team that they're as good as a team that came up last year. So big problems in Newcastle. Positives, they got a point, they didn't lose, they stopped the rot to an extent, but they've got to now pick themselves up with injuries for that game at West Brom next week, which I'm sure that the Amazon Prime viewers are going to be delighted with the spectacle that awaits them. If you're the Newcastle United fan like we are, then we'll be really, kicking and heading every ball. But at the end of the day, Newcastle are in a big mess at the moment.
Of course, West Brom beat Brighton earlier today. Final question, Lee, before I let you get off. You mentioned there the core kind of players, that were there when the Newcastle came from the Championship. The fact that Newcastle are kind of relying on Fulham not to pick up points, because I think a lot of fans, majority of fans, are feeling very pessimistic about the weeks to come. I mean, that just kind of shows you maybe where the ambition level is at Newcastle United. I mean, it's a sad sign of the times when we're relying on likes of Fulham not to pick up points, instead of saying, Newcastle can pick up the points to get themselves out of there.
Oh yeah, it's 4 seasons in after promotion. It's embarrassing that you're relying on other teams to stay out of the relegation battle. And tomorrow, Crystal Palace Fulham. It's a game that arguably, you would probably watch it on Match of the Day, but you wouldn't be sitting hanging on every kick and every header in that game. But that's exactly what Newcastle fans are going to be doing tomorrow. I mean, there's not much else to do in lockdown, to be fair. But at the end of the day, that's what they're going to be doing, because they've got a real interest in their club. But look, this season, there's no, even in the first half of the season when Newcastle were picking up results, they were very, very fortunate in some games. Let's not beat around the bush here. Newcastle have been poor throughout, and I'm just getting a message through here. It's actually a knee injury for Almiron. So a lot of people feared it was a muscle injury. I've just had it confirmed there. It's a knee injury for Almiron. So that could potentially, if it's a bad one, be a season ender for him. But yeah, what was your question again? I got a little bit distracted there.
It was just about the sign of the ambition Newcastle when you are relying on the likes of Fulham not to pick up points.
Yeah. It's as I say, it's embarrassing, isn't it? And these players, they should be doing a lot better than they are. And sadly, we're going in that last dozen games looking over our shoulder and just praying that we avoid a final day shootout at Craven Cottage, because, as I say, I fear the worst on that one, because it's the type of game that Newcastle would lose.
Yeah, it will not be fun at all. Hopefully, we've achieved safety long before that. We'll let you get off, Lee, because I know you'll want to write up that Almiron story there. Thanks for joining us. You can head over to Chronicle Live to read all these match report, player ratings, and everything else that from the match tonight. Kieran Kelly's 5 things is up there as well. Thank you very much for watching.